I still remember the way they looked at me like I'd completely lost my mind. My mom actually laughed out loud, and my dad shook his head and muttered something about throwing my life away. All I had ever saved, every dollar from odd jobs, side hustles, and sleepless nights. I just spent it all on the most rundown gas station in town. The roof leaked, the pumps didn't work, and the paint was peeling off like old sunburn. Everyone thought I was crazy, and maybe I was. But I saw something no one else did. When I told my parents about the deal, hoping for at least a little support, they didn't hold back. "You should have gone back to school instead," my dad said. My mom just kept scrolling on her phone, barely looking up. Friends stopped calling, and even I started to question what I'd done. But there was something about that broken down place that felt like a second chance, not just for the gas station but for me too. I slept in the back office for weeks. I scrubbed the floors, fixed busted lights, and taught myself how to rebuild gas pumps from scratch using YouTube tutorials and trial and error. Every day was a new problem, and every night I went to bed sore, broke, and more determined than ever. I was chasing something bigger than a paycheck. And just when it seemed like nothing was working, something happened that changed everything. One small spark, and the whole town started to take notice. But before I get into that, let me take you back to the very beginning. The day I first walked onto that cracked concrete lot and decided to risk it all. This is the story of how I turned a forgotten gas station into something no one saw coming. It all started a few months earlier, when I drove past this half-dead gas station on the edge of town. Most people wouldn't even glance at it. The sign was missing letters, weeds had grown up through the cracks in the pavement, and one of the windows was boarded up with old plywood. But something about it made me stop. Maybe it was the silence. Or maybe it was because I felt like that building, forgotten, overlooked, just waiting for a second shot. I sat there in my car for almost an hour, just staring at it, trying to picture what it could be. Not what it was. At the time I had a small savings account, nothing major. I'd been working delivery jobs, odd gigs online, anything that paid. No fancy degree, no business background, just grit. The gas station was cheap because no one wanted it. The owner, an old man who barely spoke, handed me the keys without even asking why I wanted it. I think he thought I was wasting my time. Honestly, I wasn't sure he was wrong. I didn't tell my parents at first. I knew what they'd say. They had always wanted me to play it safe, get a job with benefits, settle down, follow the plan. But this wasn't part of any plan. When I finally showed them the place, expecting maybe a little faith or encouragement, their reaction hit harder than I expected. They laughed. My mom even asked if it was some kind of joke. But it wasn't a joke. Not to me. I saw something in that broken building. Something no one else did. What I didn't see coming was how deep I'd have to dig to prove it. And the unexpected secret I'd uncover behind that gas station's past? I wasn't ready for that. The first real problem came on day 3. I was patching up a broken window when a man pulled into the lot in a beat-up truck. He looked like he belonged in a different time. Heavy boots, weathered face, eyes that didn't blink much. He didn't say a word at first. Just stared at the station, then at me. Finally, he muttered, "You the new owner?" I nodded. He shook his head slowly and said, "You should have left this place alone," then drove off. I stood there, glass shards in hand, completely frozen. It was weird. And it wasn't the last time someone gave me that look. Like I'd messed with something I shouldn't have. The next few weeks were rough. I barely had enough money for supplies, let alone help. The plumbing was a nightmare, the wiring was a fire hazard, and every time I made a little progress, something else broke. The worst part? The locals. Word spread fast in a small town, and it wasn't kind. People whispered when I walked into the hardware store. A guy at the diner told me I was digging a hole too deep to climb out of. Even my old high school friend Jake, who used to talk about starting a business with me someday, stopped replying to my texts. And then there was the back office. The one place I hadn't touched yet. The door had been jammed since day 1. I figured I'd get to it later, once the main repairs were done. But every time I walked past it, I felt this strange heaviness. Like the air changed near that door. One night I swear I heard something from inside, just a soft thump, like something falling. I thought it was nothing. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was hidden in there. Something important. One night, after another long day of fixing broken pipes and arguing with myself about whether this was all a mistake, I finally decided to deal with that back office door. I grabbed a crowbar and forced it open. The air inside was thick like it hadn't moved in years. Dust floated in the flashlight beam, and the room smelled like old oil and something else I couldn't place. The walls were lined with boxes, filing cabinets, and yellowed newspapers stacked waist-high. Most of it looked worthless, just junk left behind. But tucked behind a loose panel near the floor, I found a rusted metal lockbox. Heavy, cold, and locked. I tried to forget about it, told myself it was probably nothing. But at night I kept thinking about that man in the truck, his warning, and the noise I heard. Curiosity got the better of me, and the next morning I brought in bolt cutters. When I finally cracked the box open, I found old photos, some documents, and a key wrapped in cloth. But there was no note, no explanation. Just faded names, a deed with parts blacked out, and a map with a red X drawn in the corner of the lot, right under the cracked pavement near Pump 3. At that point I couldn't ignore it. Something about this place wasn't right. Why would someone hide a map and a key? And why had the old owner practically given me the property without asking a single question? I started to wonder if maybe this gas station had a history no one wanted to talk about. Something buried, literally. I didn't know what I was digging into, but whatever it was, I could feel it pulling me in, and I was about to find out how deep it really went. I marked the spot on the map and waited until after dark. I didn't want anyone seeing me dig up my own gas station. With a shovel in one hand and my phone flashlight in the other, I started scraping through the cracked concrete near Pump 3. The pavement gave way faster than I expected, like it had been tampered with before. A few feet down, my shovel hit something solid metal. I cleared away the dirt and found an old hatch, rusted shut and barely visible beneath the soil. My heart was pounding. This wasn't just some broken-down business anymore. Something was hidden here, and I had no idea what I was about to step into. Before I could pry the hatch open, my phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. Stop digging. Some things are meant to stay buried. I froze. No name, no details. Just that one chilling sentence. I looked around, but the lot was silent. No headlights, no movement. Just me and the hole I'd made. The next morning things got worse. I came back to the station to find the place trashed. My tools were scattered, windows smashed, and that lockbox I'd hidden? Gone. Whoever sent that message had been watching. And they weren't bluffing. I wanted to call the police, but how could I explain any of this without sounding insane? I started digging into the gas station's records, and what I found only raised more questions. Decades ago, the place was shut down for undisclosed safety reasons, and the original owner had disappeared without a trace. No one had spoken his name in years. That hatch, the map, the documents, it was all connected. And suddenly, this wasn't just about saving a business anymore. This was about uncovering a secret someone clearly wanted to keep buried forever. I waited until just before sunrise. With the hatch still sealed and my nerves fried, I knew this was it. Whatever was down there, I had to find out. I brought a crowbar, a flashlight, and a deep breath. It took everything I had to pry that hatch open. The metal screamed as it lifted, revealing a narrow set of stairs disappearing into darkness. I hesitated for a second, then climbed down. The air was cold, damp, and smelled like rust and gasoline. I found myself in a small underground room, cement walls, no windows, and in the center, an old safe bolted to the floor. The key from the lockbox fit perfectly. I opened it slowly, bracing for I don't know what. Inside were stacks of cash wrapped in plastic, a pile of old receipts, and another set of documents. But what caught my eye was a photo, black and white, faded, and unmistakably my dad, standing with the original owner of the gas station. My heart dropped. I had never seen this picture before. On the back was a date, years before I was born, and a note. Keep it quiet. No one finds out. The final piece clicked. My dad knew about this place. He'd mocked me not because he thought I was making a bad decision, but because he was scared I'd uncover something from his past. I confronted him later that week. He didn't deny it. Said it was a deal gone wrong, something he thought was buried forever, literally. But before I could ask more, he said, "You weren't supposed to be the one to open that hatch." I thought the story was over. But then a letter arrived in the mail. No return address. Inside, a photo of me at the gas station, taken just last week. I stood there holding that photo, the one someone had taken of me just days earlier. I turned it over, blank. No message this time, no warning, just proof that someone was still watching. But I wasn't scared anymore. I was tired of running from questions, tired of wondering what might happen next. So I made a choice. I cleaned up the gas station one final time. I fixed the signs, repainted the storefront, and reopened it. Not just as a station, but as a small local cafe and rest stop. People slowly started coming around, curious at first, then supportive. My parents came by one morning unannounced. My dad didn't say much, just walked the lot in silence. He stood near pump 3 where the hatch used to be and said, "You did more with this place than I ever thought possible." That was the closest I ever got to an apology. And honestly, it was enough. As for the mystery underground, I sealed it back up. Whatever secrets were buried down there, I figured they'd done enough damage. I kept the photo though. A reminder that even when people doubt you or hide things from you, what you build with your own hands matters. It has weight. It lasts. In the end, I didn't just fix a broken gas station. I built something real from the ground up. I proved to myself and to everyone else that vision matters more than approval. And while I never figured out who sent those messages, or why they were still watching, I stopped waiting for answers. Sometimes closure isn't about knowing everything. Sometimes it's about moving forward anyway. So yeah, my parents mocked me. The town laughed. But I stayed. I rebuilt. And I turned that junk gas station into the start of something new.